Welcome back to another episode of Jered vs. Japan, where in today's episode we will be talking about the importance of learning culture. So let's get right into it in today's episode. Now, as you may remember, last time we talked about the importance of getting packing done and making a checklist of all the things you might need. Today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about cultural tips and things you might not know while you're abroad, so you want to make sure to research every little thing before going. Now, before we get into some examples, why is it important to learn culture? Culture is a very key essential thing for getting into the swing of things when going abroad, and if you don't know everything that might cause problems later, and we don't want that. We want to avoid as many problems as possible. So learning culture is really an important key element here before going abroad. Learning culture ahead of time can be even beneficial to your social life because people will see that you're making an effort to learn their ways and their laws and their rules. So this is also another benefit of learning culture. Now, for Japan's example, Japan is all about keeping the harmony in public. So they have rules and kind of guidelines that match that. For example, taking off shoes in Japan is one of the biggest cliches that you see in all movies and always read about, but it's actually a very important thing. Why is it actually so important? Well, let's get into that. Taking off your shoes in Japan is not only polite, but sometimes it might even be a rule to enter certain areas of either homes, restaurants, businesses, or even schools. So that's why it's actually really important. Why it's done is because mainly they want to keep things very clean in every place in Japan. So this is a key step to avoid making a mess and kind of just being very polite. To enter a person's house is seen as a big invitation, so you want to be as polite as possible. Eating while walking is a big no-no in Japan. You won't actually get fined for it, but it's just seen as very gross and disrespectful to other people. The next one is very important. Never cross the street when you don't have a light. In certain American towns, for example, New York, people just like walking whenever there's no cars. This is not the case in Japan. You will rarely see anyone jaywalking, and you can even earn jail time or get heavily fined if you're caught by police. So this is just one rule that you have to follow. Talking loudly on transportation is very rare in Japan. Everyone's kind of keeps themselves, and sometimes it's just very rude to be talking on the phone because there might be people trying to sleep on transportation. This again, going back to American culture that I'm used to, is very different because on transportation everyone might be talking or people might even be having arguments. This isn't something you see in Japan as they want to keep the peace as much as possible. Now here's an important lesson. Tipping culture in America is huge. If someone gives you quality service, you're expected to tip them in certain situations like in a restaurant. However, in Japan, excellent service is expected, so it might actually be seen as an insult for you to tip someone because they think you're judging them, and sometimes they will just right out refuse your tip. So it kind of helps to just don't tip at all because it avoids this awkward situation. Join us next time for Jered vs. Japan, where we'll be talking about the importance of learning special events in your host country, such as religious holidays or other kind of festivals that you might want to participate in before and after going abroad. And once again, sayonara!